The bullet had missed her heart by inches, but the fall from her spooked horse had snapped her left forearm clean through. And now Hannah Norwood was 3 days into what should have been a 5-day journey to Fort Collins, Colorado, wondering if she would die alone on this endless prairie. She had been traveling from her aunt's homestead in Cheyenne back to Denver, where she worked as a schoolteacher, a journey she had made twice before without incident. This time, however, a group of drifters had spotted her on the second day and decided a woman traveling alone made for easy prey. They had been right about the alone part, wrong about the easy. Hannah had her father's old rifle and knew how to use it, managing to wound one of them before her mare reared and sent her tumbling into a ravine. The men must have thought the fall had killed her, because by the time she dragged herself back up to the road, clutching her useless arm, they were gone along with her horse, her supplies, and everything except the clothes on her back and the small derringer hidden in her boot. That had been yesterday morning. Now the sun was climbing toward noon on what felt like her last day on Earth, each step sending white-hot pain shooting through her arm. She had tried to fashion a splint from branches, but with only one working hand and waves of nausea from the pain, she had managed nothing more than wrapping her shawl around the break. The arm hung at an unnatural angle, swelling beneath the makeshift bandage. The road stretched endlessly in both directions, cutting through grassland that rolled like a brown ocean under the October wind. No trees, no shelter, no water since she had finished the few mouthfuls she had managed to collect from a creek that morning. Her throat felt like sandpaper, her lips cracked and bleeding. She kept walking because stopping meant lying down, and lying down meant not getting back up. She did not hear the horse until it was nearly upon her. Hannah spun, fumbling for the derringer with her good hand, vision swimming. The rider pulled up short, and through the haze of pain and exhaustion, she saw him clearly. A man in his mid-20s, broad-shouldered and lean, with sun-darkened skin and eyes the color of creek water in summer. He wore dusty leather chaps over denim, a faded blue shirt, and a hat that had seen better years. A working cowboy by the look of him. "Easy there," he said, voice low and calm, the same tone someone might use with a frightened animal. "I am not going to hurt you." Hannah kept the small gun pointed at him, though her hand shook so badly she doubted she could hit him even at this distance. "Stay back." He raised both hands, showing empty palms, and made no move to dismount. "Yes, madam, I will stay right here, but you look like you could use some help." "I am fine." "With respect, madam, you do not look fine. You look like you have been through hell and back." His gaze dropped to her arm and his expression tightened. "That arm is broken. I know what it is." The words came out sharper than she intended, panic making her mean. She had survived 3 days alone. She did not know if she could trust this stranger, no matter how kind his eyes looked. The cowboy seemed to read her thoughts. "My name is Aaron Yates. I work the Triple R Ranch about 15 miles south of here. Been riding fence line when I saw you on the road. There is not another settlement for 20 miles in any direction, and you are in no condition to make it that far." He paused, then added quietly, "I can help you if you will let me." Hannah's vision blurred at the edges. She tried to steady the gun, but her strength was failing. "How do I know you are not like those other men?" "You do not," Aaron said honestly. "But those other men are not here offering to splint your arm and share their water. I am. And if you keep going like this, you will be dead by nightfall." The truth of his words hit her like a physical blow. She had been trying not to think about it, but he was right. She was dying out here slowly but surely. The gun wavered in her hand. Aaron watched her steadily. "I have a sister about your age. Her name is Margaret. If she was out here hurt and alone, I would hope to God someone would stop to help her." He reached slowly for his canteen, telegraphing every movement. "I am going to dismount now and bring you some water. Then I am going to look at that arm. All right." Hannah wanted to argue to maintain her defenses, but her body betrayed her. Her knees buckled, and she would have fallen if Aaron had not moved with surprising speed, catching her before she hit the ground. The Derringer tumbled from her grip into the dust. "I have got you," he said, and his arms were steady and strong, lowering her gently to sit on the roadside. "When did you last drink anything?" "This morning. A creek, maybe 2 miles back." He pressed the canteen into her good hand. "Slow sips, not too much at once or you will be sick." The water was the most glorious thing Hannah had ever tasted. She forced herself to obey his instructions, taking small mouthfuls even though she wanted to drain the entire container. Aaron let her drink, then crouched beside her to examine her arm. His touch was gentle, careful, but even so she had to bite back a cry when he probed the swelling. "I need to set this properly and splint it," he said. "It is going to hurt like hell, but if it heals wrong, you could lose use of the arm entirely. Do you understand?" Hannah nodded, not trusting herself to speak. "I have done this before. Broke my own arm when I was 16, and our ranch foreman said it. Watched him do the same for half a dozen cowboys over the years." He was already moving to his horse, pulling items from his saddlebags. "I am going to be straight with you. This is the worst part. After it is set and splinted, the pain will ease some." He returned with a leather belt, 2 straight pieces of wood he must have carried for emergency repairs, and strips of cloth. "You might want to bite down on this," he said, offering her the belt. Hannah took it with trembling fingers. "Just do it." Aaron positioned himself beside her, hands steady on her forearm. "On 3. 1, 2. He pulled on 2, and Hannah bit down hard on the leather as white-hot agony exploded through her arm. She heard a sound like a branch snapping, felt the bones grinding back into alignment, and then the world went gray around the edges. She might have screamed. She could not be sure. When her vision cleared, Aaron was already wrapping the splint, his movements quick and efficient. "Worst part is over," he said. "You did good. Most men I know would have passed out." "I still might," Hannah managed through gritted teeth. A ghost of a smile crossed his face. "That would be fair." He finished securing the splint and sat back to examine his work. "That should hold until we can get you to a proper doctor. There is one in Monticello, about 2 days' ride from here if we take it steady." 2 days. "You are in no condition to move faster, and my horse cannot carry us both at full speed for long distances." He studied her face. "When did you last eat?" "Yesterday. Maybe the day before. I am not sure anymore." Aaron returned to his horse and came back with jerky and hardtack. "It is not much, but it will give you some strength." While she ate, he retrieved her Derringer from the dust and handed it back to her, handle first. "For what it is worth, I am glad you are armed. A woman alone out here should be." The gesture surprised her. Most men she knew would have kept the weapon. "Thank you. What happened to you, if you do not mind my asking?" Hannah told him, the words coming easier than she expected. Maybe it was the relief of having help, or maybe it was something in his steady, patient presence that made her feel safe. She told him about the drifters, the fall, the 3 days of walking. Aaron listened without interrupting, his expression growing darker. "They shot at you," one of them did. "Missed, thankfully. Then you are more than unlucky. You are a target of some truly evil men." He stood, offering his good hand to help her up. "We should move. I want to put some distance behind us before we camp for the night, just in case those men are still in the area." The thought sent ice through Hannah's veins. She had not considered they might come back. Aaron must have seen the fear in her face because he added, "I've got a rifle and I know how to use it, and I am a light sleeper. Nobody is going to hurt you while I am here." He helped her mount his horse, a sturdy bay gelding with patient eyes, then swung up behind her. His arms came around her to hold the reins, careful not to jostle her injured arm. "Tell me if I need to slow down," he said. "The last thing we need is to make that arm worse." They rode through the afternoon, Aaron keeping the pace to an easy walk. He talked as they went, filling the silence with stories about his ranch, his work, his family. Hannah learned that he was 24, the second of 4 children, and had been working cattle since he was old enough to sit a horse. His father had died 2 years ago, leaving Aaron and his older brother to run the ranch with their mother. "Margaret, my sister, she is teaching herself to read and write better," he said. "Wants to be a teacher like you. Says there is more to life than mending fences and birthing calves." "She sounds wise. She is. Smarter than me and my brother combined, though do not tell her I said that. Her head is big enough already." There was warmth in his voice, deep affection. "What about you? Any family waiting for you in Denver, an uncle and his family?" "My parents died when I was young, cholera, and I was raised by my father's brother. He helped me get the teaching position." Hannah leaned back slightly, exhausted. "They will be worried. I was supposed to arrive days ago." "We will get you there," Aaron said. "I give you my word." They stopped as the sun was setting, choosing a spot off the main road where a stand of cottonwoods provided some shelter. Aaron helped Hannah down, then set about making camp with practiced efficiency. He built a small fire, cooked beans and bacon in a tin pan, and made coffee strong enough to strip paint. Hannah sat on his bedroll watching him work. "You do not have to do all this," she said. "Do all what? Take care of me. You could have pointed me toward the nearest town and ridden on." Aaron looked up from the fire, his expression serious. "I could have, but I did not raise that way." He poured coffee into a tin cup and brought it to her. "Besides, what kind of man would I be if I left an injured woman alone in the middle of nowhere? A practical one. This is costing you time, supplies. Time and supplies I can spare." He settled across the fire from her. "You are thinking too much about what this costs me and not enough about staying alive and getting that arm healed right." Hannah sipped the coffee, feeling its warmth spread through her chest. "I am not used to accepting help. I can tell." There was something like amusement in his voice. "But sometimes accepting help is the bravest thing a person can do." They ate in companionable silence, and afterward Aaron checked her splint, making small adjustments. His hands were calloused and rough from ranch work, but his touch remained careful. "How is the pain?" he asked. "Bad, but bearable." "There is some laudanum in my saddlebag if you need it for sleeping." Hannah shook her head. "I do not like how it makes me feel, fuzzy, out of control." "Fair enough, but the offer stands if you change your mind." Aaron spread his bedroll near the fire and gestured to it. "You take this." "I will sleep on my saddle blanket." "That is not fair. It is your bedroll, and you are injured." "No argument, Miss Norwood." She was too tired to fight him. Hannah settled onto the bedroll, her splinted arm awkward and throbbing. Aaron banked the fire and lay down a few feet away, his rifle within easy reach. The stars were emerging overhead, a million points of light in the vast darkness. "Aaron," Hannah said into the quiet. "Yes, thank you for everything." "You are welcome. Now get some rest. We have a long day tomorrow." Hannah closed her eyes, listening to the crackle of the fire and the distant song of coyotes. For the first time in days, she felt safe enough to sleep. She woke once in the night, disoriented and hurting. Aaron was sitting up, silhouetted against the dying fire, keeping watch. When he noticed she was awake, he turned his head. "Just me. Go back to sleep." She did. Morning came cold and clear. Aaron had coffee ready and more beans cooking by the time Hannah stirred. Her arm was stiff and painful, but the sharp agony of the previous day had dulled to a steady ache. Aaron checked the splint again, nodded in satisfaction, and helped her eat breakfast. "How are you feeling?" he asked, like I was trampled by a horse. "That is about what you look like." But his tone was kind, taking the sting from the words. "We will take it even slower today. There is a creek about 5 miles up where we can water the horse and refill our canteens." They rode through the morning, the landscape gradually changing from open prairie to rolling hills dotted with pine and juniper. Aaron kept up a steady stream of conversation, and Hannah found herself responding more easily, telling him about her work as a teacher, the children she taught, the satisfaction of watching a struggling student finally understand a concept. "You love it," Aaron observed. "Teaching." "I do. It feels like making a difference even if it is small. Small differences add up. That is what my pa used to say." Aaron guided the horse around a rough patch of ground. He said, "Every fence post you set right, every calf you save, every kindness you show, it all adds up to something bigger." He sounds like he was a good man, the best. Losing him nearly broke my mother. Aaron's voice grew quiet. "But she is strong. Stronger than any of us gave her credit for. She held the ranch together that first year, kept us all working when we wanted to just give up." They reached the creek around midday and stopped to rest. Aaron helped Hannah down and led her to the water's edge, where she could splash cool water on her face and neck. The cold felt glorious against her sun-scorched skin. "There is a cave about a mile from here," Aaron said, studying the sky. "Weather looks like it might turn, and I would rather have shelter if a storm rolls in." He was right. By the time they reached the shallow cave carved into a hillside, dark clouds were gathering on the horizon. Aaron got Hannah settled inside, then tended to his horse and built up a fire near the cave mouth. The first drops of rain began to fall just as he finished. "Good timing," he said, shaking water from his hat. The storm rolled in fast and hard, rain lashing the prairie in gray sheets. Thunder boomed overhead and lightning split the sky. Aaron sat near Hannah, both of them watching the display through the cave opening. "Quite a show," Hannah said, "nature's way of reminding us how small we are." Aaron poured more coffee from the pot he had set near the fire. "You holding up all right? My arm hurts less than yesterday. That feels like progress." "It is. A good splint makes all the difference." He handed her a cup. "I was thinking once we get you to Monticello, I should probably ride on with you to Denver. Make sure you get home safe." Hannah looked at him in surprise. "That is another day's ride from Monticello at least. I cannot ask you to do that." "You are not asking. I am offering." Aaron met her gaze steadily. "Those men who attacked you, they could still be out there. And you will be in no shape to defend yourself with that arm. I would feel better knowing you made it home." Something warm unfurled in Hannah's chest, something beyond gratitude. She had been watching Aaron over the past day and a half, noticing little things. The way he moved with easy confidence, the gentle competence of his hands, the kindness in his eyes. The way he talked about his family with such obvious love. He was different from the men she knew in Denver, the merchants and lawyers who courted her with stilted manners and calculated intentions. "You barely know me," she said. "I know you are brave. I know you walked for 3 days on a broken arm rather than give up. I know you are a teacher who loves her work." Aaron's expression softened. "That is enough to know you are worth helping." The rain continued through the afternoon and into the evening. They ate a simple dinner of beans and the last of the bacon, and Aaron checked her splint again as the firelight flickered against the cave walls. "Tell me about your ranch," Hannah said. "What is it like?" Aaron's face lit up. "It is good land. Rolling hills, good grass, a creek that runs year-round. We have about 300 head of cattle, mostly Herefords. My brother James and we have been talking about expanding, maybe trying to improve the stock." "Is that what you want, to run the ranch?" It is all I have ever known, all I ever wanted, really." He paused. "Though I will admit there are times I wonder what else is out there. James, he is the ambitious one, talks about buying more land, running more cattle. Me, I am happy with what we have. That is not a bad thing, being content." "My mother says the same." Aaron smiled. "What about you? Do you ever think about doing something besides teaching?" Hannah considered the question. "Sometimes I think about starting a school of my own, not just a one-room schoolhouse, but something bigger. A place where children could learn music and art, not just reading and arithmetic." "That sounds like a fine dream." "It is only a dream. Starting a school requires money and resources I do not have. Dreams have a way of coming true if you work hard enough at them." Aaron added wood to the fire. "My pa dreamed of owning his own land. He spent 15 years working for other ranchers, saving every penny, before he finally had enough to buy the Triple R. He was 35 years old when that dream came true, but it came true." They talked long into the night, the conversation flowing easily from topic to topic. Hannah found herself laughing at Aaron's stories about ranch mishaps and stubborn cattle, found herself sharing things she rarely talked about with anyone. The loneliness of losing her parents so young. The struggle to find her place in a world that expected women to marry and keep house rather than work and think for themselves. "You have found your place," Aaron said. "In that classroom, that is more than most people can say." "Maybe, but sometimes I wonder if it is enough." "Enough for what?" Hannah struggled to put the feeling into words. "Enough to build a whole life around. Teaching fills my days, but it does not fill everything else." Aaron was quiet for a moment. "You are talking about family, a husband, children. Am I terrible for wanting both, a career and a family?" "You are human for wanting both." Aaron's voice was gentle. "And any man worth having would want you to be happy, not just useful." The words struck something deep in Hannah's heart. She looked at Aaron across the fire, this man who had stopped to help a stranger, who had splinted her arm and ridden beside her and kept watch through the night, who talked to her like an equal, who listened when she spoke about her dreams. "You are not like most men I know," she said. "I will take that as a compliment." "It is." Their eyes met, and something shifted in the air between them. Hannah felt it like a physical thing, a recognition that what was happening here was more than simple kindness between strangers. Aaron seemed to feel it too because he looked away first, clearing his throat. "You should get some rest," he said. "We will head out at first light if the rain stops." Hannah settled onto the bedroll, but sleep was a long time coming. She lay there in the darkness, listening to the rain and the fire and Aaron's steady breathing, and wondered what she was doing. She barely knew this man. It had been less than 2 days. These feelings made no sense, except they did. Sometimes the heart knows before the mind can catch up. The rain had stopped by morning, leaving the world fresh and clean. They set out early, the horses' hooves making soft sounds on the wet ground. Aaron's arms were warm around Hannah as they rode, and she found herself leaning back against him more than strictly necessary. "Tell me about Monticello," she said. "I have never been there." "It is a good town. Small, maybe 300 people. Has a general store, a hotel, a smithy, and a doctor who actually knows what he is doing. Doc Anderson, he trained back east somewhere." Aaron paused. "There is also a church with a real pretty steeple. The whole town pitched in to build it last year." "Do you go to church?" "When I can. My mother is devout, so she makes sure we show up for Christmas and Easter at least." He chuckled. "Though I will admit, I find more of God out here on the prairie than I do in a building." Hannah understood what he meant. There was something holy about the vast sky, the endless land, the persistent green things growing despite the harshness. "My father used to say that God is in the details. The way a bird builds its nest, the pattern of stars, the exact shade of sunset. Your father sounds like he was a wise man. He was. I wish I had more time with him. They rode in silence for a while, and then Aaron said, "My pa used to take me riding when I was small. Just the two of us, out checking fences or looking for strays. He said those rides were when he could hear himself think." Aaron's voice grew soft with memory. I did not understand what he meant until after he was gone. Now, when I am out riding alone, I feel close to him. Like he is still here somehow. Hannah reached back with her good hand and found Aaron's arm, squeezing gently. "He is, in you, in the way you care for people, the way you stop to help me." Aaron's hand covered hers briefly, a warm pressure. "Thank you for that." They reached Monticello late in the afternoon. It was exactly as Aaron had described, a small cluster of buildings along a dusty main street, with the white church steeple rising above the others. People stopped to stare as they rode in, a dusty cowboy and an injured woman on a single horse. Aaron guided them straight to the doctor's office, a tidy building with a sign reading Dr. Andrew Anderson, physician. He helped Hannah down and supported her as they went inside. The doctor was a gray-haired man in his 50s with kind eyes behind wire-rimmed spectacles. He took one look at Hannah's splint and gestured to an examining table. "Let us see what we have here." Aaron explained what had happened while Dr. Anderson carefully removed the splint and examined Hannah's arm. His probing was gentle but thorough, and he made small, approving noises as he worked. "Whoever set this did an excellent job," he said finally. "The bones are aligned properly and I see no signs of infection. You were lucky." "Aaron did it," Hannah said. "He found me on the road." Dr. Anderson looked at Aaron with new respect. "You have done this before, a time or two." "My foreman taught me." "Well, you learned well." The doctor began applying a proper plaster cast. "This will need to stay on for at least 6 weeks, maybe 8. You will need to keep it clean and dry, and if you notice any increased pain, numbness, or discoloration, you need to see a doctor immediately." Hannah nodded, watching the doctor work. The cast felt strange, heavy and confining, but also somehow reassuring. Solid. Real. "Where are you staying?" Dr. Anderson asked. "You should rest for a day or two before traveling further." "I can get us rooms at the hotel," Aaron said before Hannah could answer. "We can stay tonight and head out tomorrow if Miss Norwood is feeling up to it." "That sounds reasonable, but take it easy. That arm has been through trauma." The doctor finished the cast and stepped back. "There you are. Try not to break anything else." Aaron paid the doctor despite Hannah's protests, then led her down the street to the hotel. It was a modest 2-story building with a small restaurant on the first floor. The proprietor, a stout woman with sharp eyes and a no-nonsense manner, looked between Hannah and Aaron. "2 rooms," Aaron said clearly. "The lady will need something on the first floor if you have it." Easier with her injury. The woman's expression softened slightly. "I have 2 rooms available. First floor for the lady, second floor for you, sir." Aaron paid for both rooms, and again Hannah tried to protest. "You have already spent so much." "I will put it on your tab," he said with a small smile. "You can pay me back when you are a famous schoolteacher with your own school." The hotel owner showed Hannah to a small but clean room with a bed, a washstand, and a window overlooking the street. "Restaurant serves dinner until 8, she said. "And there is hot water for washing if you want it." After she left, Hannah sank onto the bed, suddenly exhausted. The past days caught up with her all at once, the fear, the pain, the constant movement. She was safe now, in a real town with a real doctor, and Aaron had done all of it, asked nothing in return except the satisfaction of helping. A knock came at the door. Aaron stood in the hallway, hat in hand. "I am going to stable my horse and get cleaned up." Would you like to have dinner in the restaurant? Or I can bring something to your room if you are too tired." Hannah looked down at herself, still wearing the dusty, stained dress she had been traveling in. "I must look a fright." "You look like someone who has been through an ordeal and came out the other side." Aaron's voice was firm. "Which is to say, you look strong. Give me an hour to wash up and I will meet you downstairs." Aaron nodded and turned to go, then paused. "Hannah, I am glad I found you on that road." "So am I." After he left, Hannah used the hot water to clean up as best she could with one hand. She unpinned her hair, washed her face and neck, and did what she could to make her dress presentable. It was not much, but she felt more human by the time she made her way downstairs. Aaron was waiting in the restaurant, cleaned up and wearing a fresh shirt from his saddlebags. He stood when he saw her, pulling out a chair. "You look beautiful." Hannah felt her cheeks warm. "You are kind to say so, even if it is not true." "It is true." His gaze was direct, honest. "You have always been beautiful. The dust does not change that." They ordered dinner, simple fare of beef stew and fresh bread, and ate while the restaurant filled with locals. Several people nodded to Aaron, and one older man stopped by their table. "Aaron Yates, that you?" "Hello, Mr. Carpenter. How is your family?" "Good, good. Margaret said she saw you ride in. What brings you to Monticello?" The old man's curious gaze slid to Hannah, helping a lady get back home safely. Aaron made quick introductions. "Hannah Norwood, this is Robert Carpenter. He owns the lumber mill outside town." They exchanged pleasantries, and after Mr. Carpenter moved on, more people stopped by. It seemed Aaron knew half the town, or they knew him. Each time he introduced Hannah respectfully, explained the situation simply, never made her feel like a burden or an embarrassment. "You are well known here," Hannah observed after the fourth such interruption. "The Triple R does business with a lot of folks in Monticello. We buy supplies, sell cattle, hire seasonal hands." Aaron sopped up stew with his bread. "It is a good town, good people." After dinner, they walked slowly down the main street as dusk settled. The temperature had dropped with the sun, and Hannah shivered in her thin shawl. Aaron immediately shrugged out of his jacket and draped it over her shoulders. "You will be cold," she protested. "I will be fine. The cold does not bother me much." They walked in silence for a while, passing the church with its white steeple, the general store closing up for the night, the smithy where a forge still glowed red. A dog barked somewhere, and lamplight spilled from windows as families settled in for the evening. "It is peaceful here," Hannah said. "It is. Different from Denver, I would imagine. Very different. Denver is growing so fast. New buildings going up every month, more people arriving on every train." Hannah pulled Aaron's jacket closer. "Sometimes I miss the quiet, the space. You could stay." The words came out quickly, as if Aaron had not meant to say them. "I mean, Monticello could use a good teacher. The woman who runs the school now, Mrs. Patterson, she is getting on in years. She has been talking about retiring." Hannah stopped walking and looked at him. In the fading light, his face was half in shadow, but she could see the hope in his eyes. "Aaron, I know, we have known each other barely 3 days. It is crazy to even suggest it." He ran a hand through his hair. "But I have to tell you, Hannah, these past days with you have been the best I have had in longer than I can remember, and I do not want them to end." Her heart was pounding. "I do not want them to end either." "Then maybe they do not have to." Aaron took a step closer. "Maybe you stay in Monticello for a while, meet Mrs. Patterson, see the school, get to know the town, get to know me properly." "And what about my position in Denver?" "My uncle and his family, you could write to them, explain the situation, come back here after you have settled things." Aaron's hands flexed at his sides, like he wanted to reach for her but was holding himself back. "I am not trying to pressure you. Lord knows you have been through enough without me adding complications, but I would be lying if I said I did not want more time with you." Hannah's mind raced. Everything he was suggesting was impulsive, illogical, completely against her nature. She was a practical woman who planned carefully and thought things through. She did not make life decisions based on 3 days with a stranger, no matter how kind he was, except he did not feel like a stranger. He felt like someone she had been waiting for without knowing it. "Can I think about it?" she asked finally. "Of course, take all the time you need." Aaron's smile was gentle. "I am sorry, I should not have said anything so soon. No, I am glad you did." Hannah reached out with her good hand and found his, twining their fingers together. "I am glad for all of it, for you finding me, for these days together. Whatever happens next, I want you to know that." Aaron squeezed her hand carefully, then lifted it to his lips and kissed her knuckles. The gesture was old-fashioned, courtly, and it made something flutter in Hannah's chest. "Let me walk you back to the hotel." That night, Hannah lay awake in the unfamiliar bed, her mind spinning. Through the thin walls, she could hear the sounds of the hotel settling, people in other rooms, the nightlife of the town outside. Her arm throbbed dully under the plaster cast, a constant reminder of how she had gotten here. But it was not the pain keeping her awake. It was the question Aaron had put in front of her. Stay or go? Return to her known life in Denver or take a leap into the unknown? She thought about her teaching position, the children who depended on her, her uncle's family who would worry. She thought about the small apartment she rented, the routine of her days, the occasional loneliness she felt even surrounded by people. Then she thought about Aaron's steady presence, his gentle hands, his easy laugh, the way he talked about his ranch with such love, the way he looked at her like she was someone extraordinary. 3 days. It was such a short time, but did time matter if it was the right person? Morning came too soon. Hannah found Aaron already waiting in the restaurant, 2 plates of eggs and bacon on the table. He stood when she entered, searching her face. "Did you sleep?" "Not much," she admitted. "Me either." He waited until she was seated before returning to his own chair. "Have you thought about what I said?" Hannah took a deep breath. "I have thought of little else. And I think I need to go to Denver first, settle things properly. It would not be fair to simply abandon my students without notice." Aaron's face fell slightly, but he nodded. "That is reasonable. That is the right thing to do." "But," Hannah continued, and his gaze snapped back to hers, "I could come back. In a few weeks, maybe a month, if the invitation still stands." Hope blazed in Aaron's eyes. "It will always stand. Then I would like to meet Mrs. Patterson, see the school. Spend some time getting to know Monticello," she smiled, "and getting to know you properly." Aaron's answering smile was like sunrise. "I will ride with you to Denver, help you settle everything. Then I will bring you back here myself." They finished breakfast and prepared for the final leg of the journey. The ride to Denver would take a full day, barring complications. Aaron checked the horse carefully, redistributed his supplies, and helped Hannah mount. As they left Monticello, Hannah looked back at the little town with its white church steeple. Something told her she would be seeing it again soon, and the thought filled her with warmth. The day was clear and cool, perfect for traveling. They followed the main road northeast, joining up with a more traveled route as they got closer to Denver. Other riders and wagons passed them, and Aaron stayed alert, his hand never far from his rifle. "You really think those men might still be out here?" Hannah asked. "Better to be cautious than sorry." Aaron kept his voice low. "But we are close enough to Denver now that there should be law around if we need it." They stopped at midday to rest the horse and eat a quick meal of jerky and the last of the bread from Monticello. Hannah flexed her fingers, testing the sensation in her casted arm. "How does it feel?" Aaron asked, strange, heavy, but it does not hurt as much. That is good. Give it time and it will be like it never happened. Hannah looked at him. I do not think I want it to be like it never happened. No. If I had not broken my arm, I never would have met you. Aaron's expression softened. I have been thinking the same thing. Terrible reason to be grateful, but there it is. They reached the outskirts of Denver as the sun was lowering in the western sky. The city was larger than Hannah had described, sprawling across the prairie with brick buildings and wood frames, streets crowded with wagons and horses and people. Aaron looked around with interest. I have only been here once before, he said. Came with my pa when I was 14 to sell cattle. It seemed so big then, still does. It keeps growing. Hannah directed him through the streets toward her uncle's home on the north side of the city. My uncle says Denver will be one of the great cities of the West someday. Maybe so. Too many people for my taste, though. They pulled up in front of a neat two-story house with a white picket fence. Before Hannah could dismount, the front door flew open and a woman rushed out, followed by a tall man and 3 children. Hannah. Oh, thank God. The woman, Hannah's Aunt Catherine, reached them first, tears streaming down her face. We have been so worried. The stage came through and you were not on it, and we heard there were outlaws on the road and we thought the worst. I am all right, Aunt Catherine. Hannah let Aaron help her down, suddenly overwhelmed by the emotion of the reunion. Her aunt noticed the cast and gasped. Your arm. What happened? Hannah's uncle Thomas stepped forward. He was a stern-looking man in his 50s with shrewd eyes. Those eyes assessed Aaron carefully. Who is this? Aaron Yates, sir. Aaron removed his hat respectfully. I found your niece on the road 3 days ago. She had been attacked and injured. I helped her get to medical care. Hannah quickly filled in the story, watching her uncle's expression grow darker as she explained about the drifters, the fall, the days of walking alone. Aunt Catherine clutched her chest, looking faint. Those men need to be caught and hanged, Uncle Thomas said grimly. Then to Aaron. You have my profound thanks, young man. There is no way we can repay what you have done for our Hannah. No repayment necessary, sir. Anyone would have done the same. But not everyone did. You did. Thomas extended his hand and Aaron shook it. Will you join us for dinner? It is the least we can offer. Aaron glanced at Hannah, who nodded. I would be honored, sir. The house was warm and filled with good smells. Aunt Catherine immediately ushered Hannah upstairs to help her clean up and change clothes, chattering the whole time about how worried they had been. Hannah's 3 young cousins, 2 boys and a girl, peeked around door frames and asked endless questions about her adventure. When Hannah came back downstairs in clean clothes with her hair properly pinned, she found Aaron in the parlor talking with her uncle. They both stood as she entered. Feeling better? Uncle Thomas asked. Much, thank you. Dinner was a lively affair with Aunt Catherine's excellent cooking and the children's constant interruptions. Aaron answered their questions patiently, telling edited versions of his ranch stories. Hannah watched him interact with her family, saw how naturally he fit in, how genuinely he listened even to the children's silly questions. After the meal, Uncle Thomas invited Aaron to step outside for a pipe. Hannah watched them go with some trepidation, wondering what her uncle would say. She did not have to wait long. When they returned 20 minutes later, Uncle Thomas looked thoughtful but not displeased. Aaron caught her eye and gave a small nod. Mr. Yates will be staying at the hotel tonight, Uncle Thomas announced. But he is welcome to visit tomorrow before he returns to Monticello. After Aaron left, promising to return in the morning, Hannah helped her aunt with the dishes. Catherine kept shooting her knowing looks. That is a good man, she said finally. He is, and handsome. Aunt Catherine. I am just making an observation. Catherine dried a plate carefully. Your uncle said Mr. Yates told him he intends to court you properly. Ask permission and everything, old-fashioned as you please. Hannah nearly dropped the dish she was holding. He did. Thomas was impressed. So am I. Her aunt set down the plate and took Hannah's good hand. Are you interested in being courted by him? I think I might be. Is that crazy? I have only known him 3 days. Your uncle proposed to me after knowing me 2 weeks. Catherine smiled. When you know, you know. The question is, do you know? Hannah thought about the hours on horseback, Aaron's arms around her, the campfire conversations. The way he looked at her like she was remarkable, the ease she felt in his presence like she could be wholly herself. I think I do know, she said softly. Or at least I want the chance to find out for sure. Then that is what matters. Aunt Catherine hugged her carefully, mindful of her cast. Love is always a risk, sweetheart, but some risks are worth taking. Aaron returned the next morning, and Hannah's uncle invited him to stay for lunch. Afterward, Uncle Thomas retreated to his study, and Aunt Catherine took the children to visit a neighbor, leaving Hannah and Aaron alone in the parlor. Your uncle gave me a thorough interview, Aaron said with a slight smile. I think he wanted to make sure I was not some drifter taking advantage of you. What did you tell him? The truth. That I have a working ranch, no wife or entanglements, a respectable family, and honorable intentions toward his niece. Aaron moved closer. He asked what my intentions were specifically. And I told him I wanted to court you properly, get to know you better, give you time to decide if a ranch life might suit you. Aaron's voice dropped. I told him that I have never felt about anyone the way I feel about you, and that I wanted the chance to see where that feeling might lead. Hannah's breath caught. You said that to my uncle. I did. No point in being anything but honest. Aaron reached out and took her hand. I meant what I said in Monticello. These days with you have meant something to me, something important. I am not asking you to make any promises right now. I am just asking for the chance to see you again, to write to you, to court you the right way. I want that too. Hannah squeezed his hand. I need to fulfill my teaching commitment here, but I can do that in a few weeks. The school term ends in December, and I can give my notice. I will write to you every week, and I will come back to Denver when you are ready, help you move your things to Monticello. Aaron lifted her hand to his lips again. Is that all right? Am I rushing you? You are not rushing me, or maybe you are, but I do not mind. Hannah laughed softly. Nothing about this has been normal. Why start now? Aaron stayed until evening, then reluctantly said his goodbyes. Hannah walked him to the door while her family gave them a moment of privacy. The weeks will go fast, he said, though he did not look like he believed it. Write to me, Hannah said. Tell me about the ranch, your family, everything. I will. You do the same. I want to hear about your students, your days. Aaron cupped her cheek with one hand, his thumb brushing her cheekbone. I am going to miss you. I am going to miss you too. He leaned down slowly, giving her time to pull away if she wanted. She did not want. His lips met hers in a soft, careful kiss that still managed to make her toes curl in her boots. When he pulled back, his eyes were warm. That was to give you something to remember me by, he said. I could never forget you. Hannah stood on the porch and watched him ride away until he disappeared from sight. When she turned back to the house, her aunt and uncle were both smiling. The next weeks passed in a strange blur. Hannah returned to her teaching position, explaining her absence and her injury to the school board. They were understanding, especially when she gave her notice that she would be leaving at the end of term. She told her students she was moving to Monticello to teach at a different school, and they threw her a farewell party with cake and drawings. Aaron's letters arrived like clockwork, every week without fail. He wrote about the ranch, the cattle, his mother and siblings. He wrote about the autumn colors on the hills, the first snow dusting the peaks, a calf born unexpectedly late in the season. His letters were full of humor and warmth, and Hannah read them until the paper wore soft. She wrote back about her students' progress, about Denver's growth, about her conversations with her aunt and uncle. She told him about her dreams for her own school someday, about books she was reading, about how much she missed riding even though her arm was still healing. In late November, Aaron wrote that Mrs. Patterson had confirmed she would be retiring at the end of the school year. The town council wanted to meet Hannah and discuss hiring her as the new teacher. Would she be willing to come to Monticello after her term ended in Denver? Hannah's hands trembled as she wrote her response. Yes, she wrote. Yes to all of it. Aaron arrived in Denver 2 days before Christmas, riding a sturdy horse and leading a gentle mare. For you, he explained, since your horse was stolen. Her name is Daisy and she is the calmest horse we have. She will take good care of you. Hannah's uncle helped Aaron load her belongings into a small wagon he had rented. It was not much. Clothes, books, teaching supplies, a few personal items. Everything she owned fit easily. The morning of their departure, Aunt Catherine cried and hugged Hannah tight. You write to us. And if that man does not treat you right, you come straight back. He will treat me right, Hannah said with confidence. I know he will. I can see it in the way he looks at you. Catherine wiped her eyes. Go build your life, sweetheart. Be happy. Uncle Thomas shook Aaron's hand one more time. You take care of her, with my life, sir. The ride to Monticello took 2 days, camping one night on the road. But this time, everything was different. Hannah rode Daisy, Aaron rode his bay, and the wagon followed with her things. They were not strangers helping each other survive. They were something more, something still being defined but undeniably real. At night by the campfire, Aaron told her more about his family, preparing her to meet them. His mother, Sarah, who ran the ranch house with quiet efficiency. His older brother, James, serious and driven. His sister, Margaret, bright and curious, and delighted at the prospect of meeting Hannah. His younger brother, Thomas, barely 18 and still wild around the edges. They are going to love you, Aaron said. How can you be sure? Because I do. The words hung in the air between them. Hannah looked at Aaron across the fire, seeing the truth in his face. You love me? I do. I know it is soon. I know we still have things to learn about each other. But yes, Hannah, I love you. Aaron's voice was steady, certain. I think I started loving you that first day, when you pointed that derringer at me with your broken arm and told me to stay back. You were the bravest thing I had ever seen. Hannah felt tears prick her eyes. I love you too. I have been trying not to, trying to be sensible about it, but I do. Aaron stood and crossed to her side of the fire, pulling her gently to her feet. His kiss was deeper this time, more sure, and Hannah melted into it, feeling like she had finally come home. They reached Monticello the next afternoon. Aaron took her straight to the hotel to settle her things, then to meet Mrs. Patterson at the schoolhouse. The older woman was kind and grandmotherly, delighted to meet Hannah. Aaron has told me so much about you, Mrs. Patterson said, her eyes twinkling. He speaks very highly of your teaching abilities. I hope to live up to his description. They toured the schoolhouse, a one-room building with benches and desks, a wood stove and shelves of books. It was simple but well kept, and Hannah could already imagine herself here, teaching children, building something lasting. The position is yours if you want it, Mrs. Patterson said. The town council will want to meet you formally, but that is just a formality. We need a good teacher, and you need a position. It is a perfect fit. Hannah accepted, her heart soaring. That evening, Aaron brought her to the Triple R Ranch to meet his family. The ranch house was a rambling single-story building with a wide porch and smoke curling from the chimney. As they approached, people spilled out. A woman with Aaron's eyes, a tall, serious man, a young woman with dark braids, a lanky youth. Aaron's mother, Sarah, embraced Hannah immediately. "I have been so eager to meet you. Aaron has told us everything. Come in, come in. You must be exhausted." Dinner at the Triple R was loud and boisterous, nothing like the quiet meals at her uncle's house. Everyone talked at once, passing dishes and sharing stories. Margaret peppered Hannah with questions about teaching, clearly excited to have another educated woman around. James was quieter but kind, welcoming Hannah to the area. Young Thomas made jokes that earned him sharp looks from his mother. After dinner, Sarah pulled Hannah aside while the men cleaned up. "My son is in love with you." "I love him too," Hannah said. "Good. That boy deserves happiness. He has worked so hard for this ranch, for this family, never thinking about himself." Sarah's eyes were warm. "You are good for him. I can see it already." Over the following months, Hannah settled into her new life. She took over teaching at the schoolhouse in January, winning over her students with patience and creativity. The town embraced her, welcoming her to quilting circles and church socials. She grew close to Margaret, who became the sister Hannah had never had, and there was Aaron. He courted her properly, taking her on chaperoned picnics and rides, sitting in the hotel parlor under the watchful eye of the proprietress. He brought her wildflowers, taught her to ride better, listened to her talk about her students and her dreams. In March, when the doctor finally removed her cast, Aaron was there holding her hand. "Good as new," Dr. Anderson declared. "You would never know it was broken." But Hannah would always know. She would carry the memory of those days always. The pain, the fear, the moment Aaron Yates rode into her life and changed everything. In April, when the prairie was green and flowers bloomed in unlikely places, Aaron proposed. He did it simply, without fanfare, during an evening ride to a hill overlooking the ranch. He dismounted, helped Hannah down, and took both her hands in his. "I have been thinking about what to say for weeks," he began. "Practice speeches in my head, trying to find the perfect words. But the truth is simple. I love you, Hannah Norwood. I love your strength, your kindness, your brilliant mind. I love the way you teach, the way you laugh, the way you look at the world. I want to spend my life with you, building a home, raising children, growing old together." He reached into his pocket and pulled out a simple gold band. "Will you marry me?" Hannah's vision blurred with happy tears. "Yes, yes, of course, yes." The ring slid onto her finger perfectly. Aaron pulled her close, kissing her as the sun set over the prairie, painting the sky in shades of gold and pink. They married in June in the white steepled church, with what felt like the entire town in attendance. Margaret stood up with Hannah, and James stood up with Aaron. Hannah wore a simple white dress that Aunt Catherine had helped her sew, and Aaron wore his best suit. When the preacher pronounced them husband and wife, Aaron's kiss was soft and reverent, a promise of all the kisses to come. The reception was held at the ranch, with tables set up outside and food enough to feed an army. People danced and laughed and toasted the newlyweds. As the evening drew to a close, Sarah pulled Hannah aside one more time. "Welcome to the family, daughter," she said, hugging her tight. "Take care of my boy." "I will, I promise." Aaron had built them a small house on the ranch property just a few hundred yards from the main house. It was simple but lovely, with 2 bedrooms, a kitchen, and a parlor with windows facing the sunrise. He carried Hannah over the threshold that night, both of them laughing. "Welcome home, Mrs. Yates," he said. Hannah looked around the little house, at the furniture Aaron had carefully assembled, the curtains Margaret had sewn, the quilt Sarah had made for their bed. "Home," she repeated, testing the word. It fit perfectly. Their first year of marriage was full of adjustments and joy. Hannah continued teaching, earning a reputation as the best schoolteacher Monticello had ever had. Aaron worked the ranch with his brother, and slowly his dream of expanding their stock began to take shape. In the evenings, they sat on their porch and watched the sunset, talking about their days, making plans for the future. In October, exactly 1 year after Hannah's broken arm had brought them together, she told Aaron she was expecting their first child. He picked her up and spun her around, both of them grinning like fools. "A baby," he kept saying. "We are going to have a baby. Are you happy?" "Happy." "Hannah, I am beyond happy. I am the luckiest man alive." Their son was born the following May, a healthy boy with his father's eyes and his mother's dark hair. They named him Thomas Aaron, after both their fathers. Margaret cried when she heard, and Sarah took over like the general she was, helping Hannah through those first overwhelming weeks of new motherhood. Hannah took a break from teaching to care for Thomas, but she found she did not mind. She had Aaron home in the evenings, Sarah and Margaret nearby for help and company, and the baby filled her heart in ways she had not expected. When Thomas was 6 months old, Hannah went back to teaching part-time, with Sarah watching the baby during school hours. Life settled into a comfortable rhythm. The ranch prospered. Hannah's school grew as more families moved to the area. Thomas started walking, then talking, then causing trouble in the delightful way of small children. 2 years later, Hannah gave birth to a daughter they named Catherine Sarah, after both their mothers. Margaret fell in love with a shopkeeper's son and married in a ceremony that rivaled Aaron and Hannah's. On Thomas's 5th birthday, Hannah and Aaron took both children on a picnic to the same hill where Aaron had proposed. Thomas ran ahead, chasing butterflies while little Catherine napped in Hannah's arms. Aaron sat beside his wife, watching their son with a contented smile. "Do you ever think about that day," Hannah asked, "when you found me on the road all the time?" Aaron slipped an arm around her shoulders. "Best day of my life, even though I did not know it then. I was so scared, of you, of dying, of everything. I know. But you did not let that fear stop you. You kept going. That is one of the things I love most about you, Hannah. Your courage." She leaned against him, feeling the solid warmth of his body, watching their children play. "I have been thinking about starting that school I always dreamed of. A bigger one with more teachers, more opportunities for the children. Then we should do it. We can use some of the ranch profits, maybe get some investors. It is a good dream, Hannah. We should make it real." They did. Over the next 5 years, Hannah worked with the town council to establish the Monticello Academy, a proper school with 3 teachers, a library, and classes in music and art as well as traditional subjects. Aaron helped fund it, and the town rallied around the project. The academy opened when Thomas was 10 and Catherine was 7, and Hannah served as its first headmistress. The years flowed by, marked by the usual joys and sorrows of life. Sarah passed away peacefully in her sleep when she was 72, and the whole family mourned. James married a widow from Denver and brought her back to the ranch. Young Thomas, Aaron's brother, moved to Colorado Springs to start his own business. Margaret had 3 children who adored their Aunt Hannah and Uncle Aaron. Hannah and Aaron's children grew up strong and bright. Thomas inherited his father's love of ranching and his mother's quick mind. Catherine was shy but brilliant, eventually going to college in Denver to study literature. They had a 3rd child, another son they named William, who arrived unexpectedly when Hannah was 38. William was a surprise and a delight, keeping them young even as their hair started to gray. On their 20th wedding anniversary, Aaron took Hannah back to the spot where he had found her on the road. It took some searching to find the exact place, but they finally located the slight depression where the ravine had been. 20 years, Hannah said, looking out over the prairie. Sometimes it feels like yesterday. Sometimes it feels like a lifetime. It has been a good lifetime, Aaron said. Every day with you has been a gift. Hannah turned to face him. At 44, he was still handsome, his face weathered by sun and work, but his eyes as warm as ever. I love you, Aaron Yates. Thank you for stopping that day. Thank you for seeing me, for helping me, for loving me. I would do it all again in a heartbeat, though I would prefer you did not break your arm this time. She laughed, the sound carried away on the prairie wind. They stood there together, hand in hand, two people who had found each other against all odds and built a life worth living. The years continued their steady march. Thomas married a rancher's daughter and took over more of the day-to-day operations of the Triple R, allowing Aaron to slow down. Catherine came home from college with a degree and a husband, a quiet professor who fit into the family perfectly. William showed early signs of becoming a doctor, fascinated by medicine and healing. The Monticello Academy thrived, growing to serve children from 3 counties. Hannah trained new teachers, developed curriculum, and watched with satisfaction as her students went on to colleges and careers. She never forgot that first one-room schoolhouse, though, keeping a painting of it in her office as a reminder of humble beginnings. Aaron and Hannah's house gradually filled with grandchildren. Thomas and his wife had 4 children. Catherine had twins. The little house that had seemed so spacious when they married now overflowed during family gatherings, loud with laughter and argument and love. On their 30th anniversary, the whole town threw them a party. The white-steepled church was packed with former students, ranch hands, friends, and family. Person after person stood up to talk about how Aaron and Hannah had touched their lives. Children who had learned to read, families who had been helped through hard times, a community built on kindness and hard work. Hannah sat beside Aaron, their hands clasped together, and felt overwhelmed by the richness of their life. From that terrifying day on the road to this moment of celebration, it had been a journey worth taking. When it was their turn to speak, Aaron stood and pulled Hannah up beside him. I am not much for speeches, he began, and the crowd laughed. But I want to say this. 30 years ago, I was riding fence line and found a woman on the road. She was hurt and alone and should have been easy to help, but nothing about Hannah has ever been easy. She has challenged me, pushed me to be better, loved me when I did not deserve it, and given me a life beyond anything I could have dreamed. So thank you, Hannah, for letting me help you that day, and thank you for every day since. Hannah could not speak through her tears, so she simply kissed him while the whole town applauded. They grew old together on the ranch, watching seasons change and children grow. Aaron's hair went white, and his hands developed arthritis that made rope work difficult. Hannah's eyes weakened, requiring spectacles that she was constantly misplacing. But they were together, and that was what mattered. On a warm June evening when Aaron was 70 and Hannah was 68, they sat on their porch watching the sunset. William's oldest daughter was graduating from the academy the next day, and the house would be full of family for the celebration. But for now, it was just the two of them in the golden light. You have any regrets? Hannah asked, a question she had never dared ask before. Aaron was quiet for a long moment. Not about us, never about us. He turned to look at her, his weathered face dear and familiar. You? None. You gave me everything I ever wanted and things I did not know enough to want. A home, a family, work that matters, love that lasts. Hannah squeezed his hand. I have been so blessed, Aaron. We both have been. They sat in comfortable silence as the sun sank below the horizon, painting the sky in brilliant colors. The prairie stretched out before them, endless and beautiful, the same prairie where they had met 43 years ago when she was traveling alone with a broken arm, and he was a cowboy who stopped to help. Two people, one chance meeting, a lifetime of love. That night, Hannah dreamed of riding across the prairie with Aaron beside her, both of them young again and full of hope. When she woke in the morning, Aaron was still beside her, sleeping peacefully, and she smiled. Some dreams came true and stayed true year after year after year. They lived to see their children settled and happy, their grandchildren grown, and the first of their great-grandchildren born. The Monticello Academy continued to flourish under new leadership. The Triple R Ranch passed to Thomas, and then to his children, but Aaron and Hannah's little house remained standing, a testament to where their love had taken root. Aaron passed away quietly at 78 in his sleep, holding Hannah's hand. The funeral filled the church beyond capacity, and the town mourned. Hannah mourned too, but she also celebrated the years they had shared, the life they had built. She lived another 6 years, surrounded by family, still sharp-minded and engaged with her school and community. She told her grandchildren stories about their grandfather, about the day he found her on the road, about falling in love on horseback, about building a life together one day at a time. On her last evening, with her children gathered around her bed, Hannah smiled. "I am not afraid," she told them. "I am just going to find your father. He has been waiting long enough." She slipped away peacefully that night, and they buried her beside Aaron on the hill overlooking the ranch. The headstone was simple: Hannah Norwood Yates, beloved wife, mother, teacher, friend. But her legacy lived on in the school she had built, the children she had taught, the family she had raised, and the town she had helped shape. Every year on the anniversary of the Academy's founding, someone would tell the story of how it all began. With a woman traveling alone with a broken arm and a cowboy who stopped to help and ended up finding love instead. And in that way, their story never really ended. It just kept growing, spreading outward like ripples on water, touching lives in ways they never could have imagined when Aaron first spotted Hannah on that dusty road. A moment of kindness had blossomed into something extraordinary, a love that lasted, a family that thrived, and a community built on the simple idea that stopping to help a stranger might be the most important thing you ever do. The prairie wind still blew across the Triple R Ranch. Children still learned and grew at the Monticello Academy. And somewhere in the hearts of everyone who had known them, Aaron and Hannah Yates still rode together across the endless grassland. Two souls who had found each other against all odds and held on tight, through broken arms and building schools, through raising children and growing old, through everything life could throw at them. Their love was Wild West legend and simple truth, extraordinary and everyday, a story that began with pain and fear and transformed into joy beyond measure. And that, in the end, was the best kind of story, one that was completely, perfectly, beautifully true.